Hey, this is Christina with Feliciano and Friends with my good friend James Coleman. He is pretty amazing. He is a football star when he was in college, did some NFL, a high school star, and now he has a foundation where he helps the kids. He does broadcasting for sports, and he also has a podcast and does a ton of things. So we're going to learn from him and discover how he was able to achieve so much in such a short time. So thank you for coming.
Appreciate you having me.
All right. So give us a little bit of your background. Where were you born, raised, and how did you get into football?
Interesting background. Born in Tallahassee, Florida. Between the Northeast and Trenton, New Jersey, and Tallahassee is kind of where I grew up.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Mom's family, we're transplants. Mom's family's from New Jersey. My father's from Ohio. But I grew up on the south side of Tallahassee, where I just did a lot of the fun stuff in the 80s and the 90s that most kids did. Like one of the fun things is my son watches a lot of YouTube.
Okay.
And he asked me, Dad, was there really a commercial that stated it's 10:30? Do you know where your kids are?
Yeah, there was.
Like, son, there really was a commercial. So we roamed. We did a lot of stuff. Got into a lot of trouble, but it was fun trouble, and it was very interesting. My mom gave me a lot of rope.
Okay.
A single parent
Did you
household.
hang yourself?
No. She always knew about what time to rein me back in for the most part. Even though I did have to learn some things.
Yeah.
A little bit different than others, but it was again, like I said, my childhood. A lot of people now would call it I should have trauma, I should have PTSD, but it's literally fueled a lot of the different things that I went. I think the way I was raised was brilliant.
Okay, that's awesome. So did you play football from like 5, 6? Like
No, I played other sports. I actually did not pick up a football until I was 14 years old, and I was bullied into playing football, which is a funny story. But I grew up on the block, and when we were on the block, where we're at, it's college students moved in because it was cheap to live in the neighborhood that I was in. You had uncles, you had a bunch of other kids, and there was the elementary school and high school, but there was like only one basketball court. Okay. There was one football. There was this, but everybody wanted to play. So if you wanted to play, you had to be a big boy. So I had to become a big boy a lot earlier. And then like a lot of guys who ended up getting a chance to play professional sports, I've been the same height since I was 10.
Okay.
But so people treated me like a grown man when I'm still a puppy.
Okay.
But I'm in a single parent home. My mother doesn't care about the tears.
Yeah.
She's like, toughen up. Like, you got to get out there. You got to fight. You can't walk with the big dogs. Yeah, she used to say, you can't walk with the big dogs and piss like a pup. Yeah. You got to be able. So I'm out here getting brilliant training, playing against grown men and learning. But again, excelling, getting developed, doing those different things, not being afraid. So like, you can't outsize me because I've been playing against people bigger than me my entire life. So I played basketball. I played a lot of other sports because I could jump and I was just better than most of the people who were my age. I get to high school and I got kicked out of my first middle school. So the high school that I went to was a private school, but it was away from the two schools that I would have been zoned for, which all of my friends who I got in trouble with would have been at those two schools. Okay. But there was a guy, Kevin Colley, and Kevin ended up playing for Tennessee Tech. His brother played at Florida State as well. He said, you're going to play football. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And I avoided him. I missed camp. First day of school, the day before, he's like, you're going to come to football practice. I avoided him the entire day.
How old are you now?
I'm 14, and he's 6'6", 320 pounds at 16. And I avoid him. I have not seen him the whole first day of school. Yeah. But I'm down. I'm first day of school, new school. I'm flirting. I'm messing around. I'm out of the gym, and I'm walking around pointing, all right, girl, I'll get your number tomorrow. And then, boom, I walk right into this wall. And I'm like, damn. And it's Kevin. And he's like, you coming to play football? And he picks me up and he grabs me, walks me into the locker room. And if I knew I could have won that fight, I'd have fought him. But I wasn't sure because I was like, if I swing, he's really tall. Yeah. And I miss, it's going to end well for me. So I was like, well, let me go one day and try it. And then that was that day in August in 1998. Wow. That was when I fell in love with football. Talk now? Yeah, still talk to Kevin all the time. Like he's one of my. I tell him the story. I tell everybody that like I would have never played football if Kevin Colley would not have bullied me into playing football.
That's super cool. So then were you an all-star in high school? I know you were all-star in college.
Yeah. So I made all the air, like, then being on the local news, I guess it still is important. But newspaper,
Yeah.
I was all state. I was a 3-year starter in high school, 4-year varsity letterman winner. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
They just told me my first year, let me play running back and go just find a hole, run, or go hit people. Like hit ball, hit ball. And I did that very, very well. And then through the process, doing different things that the team needed, I was considered one of the better players in the area all of my years at in Tallahassee, in what they call the Big Bend area. So yeah, it was a natural thing. And especially as I started to gain weight, work out, do other different things, I got better.
Let me ask you, how much of it was raw talent and how much do you think is that you were coachable?
I'd say probably over the coachable, if I had to say anything.
That's what my assumption would be.
You know, you have to have the talent. But I do believe in later on in my career, there was plenty of times when the guy, and I was actually just talking about this with somebody, I wasn't the best person. In high school, I was the best person on the field.
Yeah.
When I got to college, I probably can't think of a game where I was just the best athlete on the field. But I knew what I was supposed to do, and I was coachable, and that helped me in all of those things. But I definitely do think, now that I think about it, that was probably my best trait.
Yeah. It's interesting because I wish my kid's dad was alive, just for different reasons, but he has kind of a similar story. He's New Yorker, and he was playing stickball, and then someone found him, and he went kind of a similar, and was like, you're going to play baseball, and then he was like you and had to, made it in then college. But he often would talk about the coachability and discipline was so much, so important. Like he was raw talent, but he had this like discipline and focus that other people in his age and even in college did not have.
In that sport, you have to kind of submit. You have to listen. It's kind of one of the funniest things that a lot of people talk about, men and women, and oh my God, I can't be submissive. I don't win. I can understand that when men can't understand it because we're not like as dominant as we are. We're submissive. We all fall in line under somebody. Yeah. If we get a directive, we're going to follow the directive. That's submission. But like even in that, like there were men like Joe Nixon, Jesse Solomon. Coach Nixon actually went into right before I really took this seriously. My sophomore year, I know what I was doing on my block. I know exactly what I was doing. Yeah. I have no idea what he was doing in my neighborhood at the time that he was in my neighborhood. Yeah. But that day changed. Like, he jacked me up in front of all of my friends. One of them was doing life. A lot of them did time for drugs. He jacked me up and said, these boys right here are the reason why I wear condoms. When I see you tomorrow, your ass is mine. And it was, again, so it's not even necessarily the coachability to do what he was saying, but for me to trust a guy who I really didn't know like that he cared about me, being able to trust somebody, that's one of that's those moments in that if I didn't listen to, I didn't have to listen to him. I could have, and my whole trajectory would have been different, but I felt like he knew something.
How old were you in this?
I was 15. Okay. So he knew something that I didn't know, and that really did help.
No, that's amazing. That's good. And then you still talk to him too?
Yeah, I see Coach Nixon.
You sound like me. I don't have that many people, but the people I have, they ride with me for life.
Coach Nixon's at Grambling. Every time I see him or I talk to him, I say, "Hey man, I thank him." Yeah. Coach Solomon, he's a former Florida State grad as well. I see him during the season. Every time I grab him, hug him. Yeah. Again, it's just really a lot of times people don't understand the sports. It's a lot of lost young men that are there. And it takes, maybe those men who are coaching them were lost at one point too, but they help you kind of navigate and get things the correct way.
So is that why you got into the MFT?
That's a big part of it.
Off camera, I was saying, let's talk about the MF. Yeah. I thought it was motherfucker, but he said no.
Motherfucker kids is way too strong, way too harsh. It's mentors for the kids.
Yeah, sorry.
But if it started off as a tongue-in-cheek joke, if you've been around kids enough, I say it at least 10 times around my kids. Man, fuck them kids. Yeah. And it's really more so because kids are a lot of times so uninhibited and they're not afraid to say what's really on their mind. And sometimes what's on their mind ain't what you want to necessarily hear or deal with at that moment. But it's the beauty behind it, especially when they're yours. Yeah. I got 2 boys. I have a daughter too, but all of them are just like me.
That's good and bad, right?
Good and bad. Like, and bad. So they're 50% me, 50% their mothers. Yeah. My oldest is very confident.
Okay.
Very but mild mannered, but he's two different people. He's truly a Gemini, but like me, people think I like the spotlight. I'm actually extroverted introvert.
Oh, I am too.
Like I love being by myself.
That's 100% how I am.
But I'm good at being around other people, and so I have to. But it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So when I'm by myself, I recharge. And my oldest is like that, but he's very slick and he's very quick and he's very logical. And his whole purpose in life is to be the only James Coleman that anybody remembers. I tell him I'm going to help you, but like you gotta. Like, he like, Dad, you weren't that good, or you weren't this, and I'm like, son, I said, you know how good I was? Look at everything around here. It's because of how good I was.
Yeah.
And so it's just telling them stuff like that. My baby boy is what everybody thinks I am. He's this explosion of personality, but he's a lot more emotional. But really, again, saying MFTK sometimes is when they're doing stuff that I don't like about myself.
Yeah.
Or they don't know why they're like that.
Yeah. So
they need mentorship. And so when I realized that, it's a lot of men, women that are just going around that are extremely talented that have no guidance. Or they have these tools that parents don't have that they don't know what to do with. So, if you can get them early, you can keep them confident, you can keep them competent, and they can keep moving down the way they want to. But a lot of times, especially in that middle school range, people get lost. And that's when bad decisions, and they're like me. I was almost lost to bad decisions in middle school.
What's so crazy is like the decisions we make as human beings between like 14 to like 21 affect us for the rest of our lives, and we're so young we don't even think about it at the time. I mean, often, and it's like such like those decisions, like who you have children with, if you decide to go to college, if you decide to make go right or left, it's just really, and it's wild because you're so young, and those decisions for the rest of your life.
That's why I tell kids all the time: be a child for as long as you can. Yeah. Don't be in a rush to grow up. I know it looks cool. It's a bad contract, terrible contract.
Right.
But you're so right. Your habits, who you're going to build with, your personality, a lot of that's being developed during that time frame. And it's so my daughter came around when I was 18. Yeah. I'm a kid with her mom trying to raise a kid. Yeah. That could definitely cause some messed up stuff. Now, fast forward to even when I had my boys, I think I was 28 when I had Trey. Okay. Still young, still messing up, but a little bit different. Yeah. Like I'm at least raised. Yeah. When I think about my mom when she had me, and that's why I started getting understanding like stuff and trying to help a little bit more with things. She was a kid when she had me. She was in college. Her and my father were in college trying to figure out how to do all these other things and try to figure out how to feed, clothe, and shelter somebody else. So, a lot of those decisions without context or without proper insulation to be able to help something grow or incubation, for that matter, I can see why the world is kind of fucked up sometimes.
No, for sure.
But we could go. The goal is for those of us who feel we have done something is to go out and really try to change the environment that's around us.
So how do kids? Are you as an organization going to groups of kids? Are there groups of kids that sign up, or how? So how does just explain how it works?
So at this stage in the nonprofit, so this is our 5th year officially, but 6th year doing things. We have community engagement opportunities. Okay. So every year we have big games, give back weekend. So we'll have one in my hometown Tallahassee, which is actually on my birthday this year. And then we'll have July 26th is the book bag drive, the football camp, so the 27th. I'm a Leo. I just missed
Cancer. You just make it, okay.
And then in Jacksonville, it's August 2nd and August 3rd. We have opportunities for people to sign up, get a free book bag, free week's worth of groceries, all kinds of other different stuff that they get. But in the football camp, all of it's free. We get it paid through mostly donations and stuff like that. Then if you keep in contact with us, we have gifts for good grades. Okay. So we'll give those kids have if they have an AB honor roll, we're good. But if we talk about, like, some of these kids may have never made an A before. Now they made their first A, and the principal will tell us, and we'll go get them a gift up to $30. And then we did 7-on-7 football, really trying to teach these young men about name, image, and likeness, about how to become a brand, how to market, how to speak in front of the camera. So it's not just playing football. We actually do a lot of other things for them now. We do a tryout and then we select those. But if anybody hits us up on the website, mftkfoundation.com, and they have a specific thing, man, my phone is open. There's been some kids where I've had to call and just give them encouragement. Man, I'm all for that.
No, that's awesome. And I see that on social media that you do a lot for a lot of different people.
And like we'll see teachers, like we try to help, really try to also help encourage the people who got to be on the front lines every day. So we'll if we, especially when the funds are there, if we have a teacher that needs some stuff in the classroom, we'll go and we'll hook that teacher's classroom up. Or one of the first things that we did, this is terrible because everything in me from the competitor side, I hated it. But everything in me from the compassionate side was like, yo, this is the right thing to do. Yeah. So we sucked. My alma mater was playing really, really bad. Okay. And there was a group of third graders. Yeah, FSU was a group of third graders that wrote sympathy letters and telling them, it's okay. You're trying your best. Keep doing this. Or I struggle with this. And this is what I do. And I was just like, I feel so embarrassed that they did this. But at the same time, it was so cute that these kids did this. So I reached out to that teacher and said, every kid in your class is going to go to the next football game. Aww. So we paid for them. And I was like, but I don't want to babysit. So they got to bring a parent. So we paid for them and one parent. So we ended up getting like 60 tickets in a row. We fed them. They met the president of that Florida State University.
And those are hard tickets to come by. We all don't know.
They were able to get on the field. We had a tailgate for them. They were my guests. That's amazing. I walked them around. So we'll see stuff like that, or somebody brings things like that to my attention. I like to do cool things because that could be the one. Like I'm telling them, you're not going to always get rewarded for doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And that shouldn't be your motivation. You should want to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. But if you consistently do the right thing, somebody will notice and somebody will get it.
For sure. And I think also, like, for people or kids to have like a glimmer of something, like you'll be surprised, like just like, see what's out there, that can give people some hope and something to go for.
Yeah. And I think that bigger than anything is just, you don't, in a world where everybody's so afraid to talk about, because they've buzzworded everything and they've made, so like you hear, I hear people talk about woke and I'm like, woke doesn't mean what woke meant like 5 years ago, but I get it. In DEI and stuff like that, representation matters. Mm-hmm. I would have never known that being a football player coming out of the hood was a possibility if it wasn't for a guy by the name of Gene Atkins. People don't know who Gene Atkins is. I know who he is because he motivated me. The first football camp I ever went to was the Gene Atkins football camp when I was 8 years old. And bigger than that, I was 7. When I was 8, he paid for everybody who went to his football camp the year before to come to New Orleans and watch the New Orleans Saints play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he took us to Discovery Zone. I remember they got a hot dog. Uh-huh. I hate not milk duds. What are those? They're like
I like them. I know the Whoppers.
Yes.
I love them.
I don't like them, mm-hmm. But I got them for free. I remember everything about that moment. Yeah. Because nobody had ever did anything for me. And then all I was thinking about was, man, it was crazy. I ended up playing for New Orleans. But, that matters. You don't know that you can be a princess if you never see a princess. Right. You don't know, okay, well, maybe my mom tells me to make good grades. But, okay, I made good grades. And then I got a speaker system from some random dude who I didn't even know was watching me. Yeah. Well, what if I keep doing these things and who else is going to watch me? So, again, these are things that you can do on an everyday, and it will change the environment. I tell people my feed on social media is not negative. I see bad stuff, but it's not consistently negative because all I do is try to push out positive.
That's how I am
as
well.
And if you do that, the algorithm will show you what you seek out. It's a perfect mirror of who you are inside. So if it's bad, then that's
so is that why I'm always getting like motivational stuff?
That's why you always get motivational stuff.
Right? Stay sober, be positive. You'll be a millionaire one day.
And I think those are the things that I think if everybody truly wants. But what's the easiest thing to do is to look on the other side and say that it's them. They're doing something wrong. Having been the guy on the other side and been the guy who's on the other side of the other side. It's like, hey, at the end of the day, all people want to do is be able to raise their kids, feed their family, and not be fucked with. Yeah, and if I could try to help people do that, then the world would be a better place.
No, for sure. I love that you're doing that, and I love that you remember the people that helped you. Because I think, I mean, that makes a big difference.
I don't remember everything. I remember people who helped me.
And the people
I remember people who hurt me.
Yeah, that's how
I remember the difference is that I try not to give
to give them clout.
Too much
exactly.
energy.
Yeah.
Because that's not where the story ends. And again, their ignorance, who knows what they were. Like those teachers.
Yeah.
Like for every teacher that told me that, you're not smart or you're not this, there's Dr. Maxine Jones's who said, this isn't a compliment, but it's a compliment. She told me I'm the biggest waste of academic potential that she's ever met in her life. She didn't say I was stupid.
Yeah.
She knew I was smart. She just said I don't apply myself, and she doesn't understand why. And she had to, do those things. Yeah. And I remember that because it was a motivator. And I think we need more people like that.
That's funny. Yeah, I had someone give me one of my best, nice, nasty compliments. I was working neurosurgery at UF. And I was having a scheduled disagreement with one of the neurosurgeons, and I basically was all I had all the receipts for when I got hired. I was going to be able to do this, and I showed him all the receipts. And basically, I was not trying to work nights and weekends, and I had kids. So I do all this stuff, and I'm so proud. And he's like, you know what? He's like, you would have been you're smart, you're articulate, all these things. He's like, you would have been an excellent neurosurgeon. I'm like, thank you. He's like, but you became a nurse, so you're gonna do whatever. But I mean, it ended up it resonated with me. But I'm still happy that I became a nurse, not a neurosurgeon. And then the other thing that first quotes that you're kind of talking about, as far as not giving clout to the people that hate on you, that I go by, is that you don't always tell your side of the story, but time will.
That, and then there's one of the things, again, growing up the way I grew up, other people probably did too. I joke with people all the time, they were like, white people do. I said, I don't know what it's like to grow up white. I don't know if you recognize this, but I kind of grew up black. But it's okay. It's all good. So I learned a lot of stuff. But I loved the villain. And not because I wanted to do evil. Mm-hmm. It's just there's the villain arc and the superhero arc are so similar. Mm-hmm. It is just one thing flipped. But when you sit back and you look at the other person's story, right? Superman's the hero, right? From Superman's version. Yeah. Everybody else, the villains that he's beating up, Superman's the evil guy. Mm-hmm. So what I use that is we're all a villain in somebody's story.
100%. So I have someone, I don't want to give too much, I'm trying to protect. So someone that basically, this father, excellent father to his children, their grown children now. The grown kids cannot speak highly enough about their father. However, he had this child outside of them that basically did not have that experience. And then this child ended up getting sick, cancer, passing. And it was wild because the two adult children before they met, and it was I know the adult children that know him as this wonderful, perfect man. And we've had these and she's like, it's just interesting how the same person, he's in the same role too, because the role was father, right? But to had completely different experiences. Right. And I think the humans are pretty complex creatures. So
I am 100%. I try to own up to. There are people on this planet who have every right to think that I'm probably not the best person.
I think that the same thing too.
But the only thing I always tell people is if you talk to that person, ask them why I'm that person. Yeah. I'm a phenomenal friend. Yeah. Probably a terrible enemy. I'm not. I play to win. So in knowing those things, I always tell people, hey, let's watch how we play. But again, I know that about me. I'm not even going to apologize about that for me. But I also just choose if that's the side that you chose, that's the side that you chose, and I can't be worried about it. Again, if I wasn't doing anything on a large enough level, nobody would talk about it.
For sure. And that's how I mean, we're different, but I'm similar in that way that people are kind of polarized about me, either really like me or dislike me. But I'm kind of that way, right or wrong. And I've been like this since I was little, if my perception is if you're doing something to get in front of my family, my children, my money, if you're doing something to harm me or perception of someone that I love, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that me and my people survive. And for me and my people, then they really love me. But if you're on the other side of that,
and I hang out with people like that too. I got I ain't gonna say that. Yeah. This is a good friend that I know of. He's an asshole. I'm an asshole. I love it. We're cool together. One of our friends said one time was why every time y'all two get together, somebody gets slapped. And we're like, people be deserving to be slapped sometimes, and we ain't asked for it.
Yeah.
Like, but if so again, and if somebody told me, I said, you know what?
Yeah.
I could see that. But he ain't never been nothing but good to me. So you go on about your room, right. Go on about your business somewhere else.
I can see that side. Yeah.
So but I think that's just the nature of the duality of man. Mm-hmm. We're all good. We're all good to somebody. We're all bad to somebody. I think Rob Kennedy, who polarizing of himself, but like he had this quote. He said, "Good men ain't great, and great men ain't good." I have zero intention of being a good man. Mm-hmm. So like I want to be great, and I would tell my sons, anybody can wake up and be mediocre. Mm-hmm. If the goal is to be great, something is going to be left to task. So we just have to ask. You have to count the cost of that. And the biggest thing is, if you're going to leave an impact, somebody is going to have to probably not necessarily like you. You have to be okay with not being liked.
100%. Because what's that? Oh, it's about like if you try to build a house, it'll be crooked. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. I feel like I butchered the quote, but just you gotta what's your moral compass? So what makes you make the decisions you make?
Ooh, now my children.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I am nowhere near as philanthropic as people believe. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: I was an active kid, and every bad decision I made came from being hungry or not having supplies. Mm-hmm. And so I know there's more people out there like me than there are my sons. My sons don't have that. They can eat whatever they want to eat. They can, if you run out of pencils, Dad will, well, now you can Amazon it. I don't even got to leave the house. I'll get you 1,000 pencils by tomorrow. Yeah. But they go to schools with kids who are like me. Mm-hmm. And I used to get in trouble when I was either done with something or I was overactive. So how do I make sure my kids aren't messed up or influenced by people who came up like me? Is by making sure that I can provide for all of those. So like, their circle, their friends, if their friends will not know any lack if they're around me. So like if I'm going on a trip, like if my sons play 7-on-7, so I started 7-on-7 for him a little bit. They have a friend who can't afford it, but he's good. Mm-hmm. That kid would not know that his parents couldn't afford for him to take that trip. If my son eats steak, that kid will eat steak. If everything else happens, and what happens is now that kid won't be a distraction to my kid. And so like if that kid becomes me later on in life, then he'll do the same thing. Throw him a bone. So that's but on the flip side of it, I tell them all the time, we're big Negroes. We grow big. So my sons are going to be more than likely 6'2", 230 pounds, and they'll be angry. They'll do stuff. And you see in the world, and I know all the statistics, and I don't give a damn about those statistics. I got good lawyers. My sons, something ever happens to my sons and they can't serve their day in court, my morality will be Mexican justice, as the joke will be. Like you're going to feel the hurt that I have. Yeah. So that's kind of where I said, like, that's where my stuff comes. I want to leave the world a better place, but if something ever happened to them, it's not going to be good. So again, that's just me. So me trying to do the right thing. I don't go to church. I don't subscribe to religion. Don't knock people for going to church or having a religion. We all need our own things, but I believe in action and treating people treating people as properly as they present themselves. So like everybody not gonna get treated the same way, because there's some people who come with a little bit more little different energy and they need to be corrected. But then there's people who come with
Don't come with that energy, James.
I'm saying like I come in peace.
Because I've always seen you so kind.
I'm really it was
for 3 years.
Well, our guy has seen it before. Like he saw it, and when he saw it, it terrified him. Okay. And it was just a thing where like a guy came with improper energy, and he was about to get he was actually about to get a bottle cracked across his head. Mm-hmm. He got a slap instead and asked to leave, and the guy was like, "Trust me. Yeah. You much rather this come from me than that big joker right there with what he had planned, because I could see it." But even like my father who, I didn't grow up with him, but I talk to him now and we have similar things. He's a lot more, even he's like, you at least give people an opportunity. He's like, I don't give people opportunities. Yeah. He's like, but that's kind of my morality is, as long as it is, I don't want anything bad to affect my kids. Yeah. But, I also just give everybody the treatment that they deserve in that moment.
Izzy's seen it a few. I think Izzy's one of the only people that has seen it. She's seen the, I don't know, crazy, but the protective side a few times. Once there was someone, I don't know if they can hear you if you talk, but they gave Izzy a hard time, this gentleman, and I was not having it at all. And on the phone, Izzy was like, she had never seen that side of me. I was like, give me the phone. Yeah.
She took the phone and she was like, you will not speak to my employee like that. And she went off.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Because people will do, people will try to take advantage, and sometimes it's not even so much that they just, they need to know that there's, sometimes people need to know there's consequences. And
for sure. And I feel like I'm just a protector. Like Izzy's like, I live for like a family where I'm like, yeah, I can kind of be calm or take it, but then this man, was trying to be disrespectful to Izzy, and she's all, and I was like, no, you're not going to speak to Izzy like that. That's not happening.
Rightfully so.
So, and she's seen me a couple times stop people in their tracks when they were going to come. But I'm like you in that I don't want that side to come out of me, but it will if it needs to.
Yeah. Perfect quote. I listen. I was hip hop influenced. Love rap. Love all music. But one of my I've liked him more from the business mogul side. Yeah. So Jay-Z's my favorite. 50 Cent, really good business guy. 50 Cent says that everybody thinks I want a problem. I want problems. I don't want any problems. But if you say you have a problem, I say no problem. And then I'm the problem. And it's just one of those things where you're trying to be cool, but then they take advantage of it, and then you're like, well, no, that's what I want. Like, if you want a problem, cool, let's have a problem. If you don't want problems, I don't want no problems either. And I think sometimes people just need the, I would say, encouragement to know that there is that they might want to choose option B. Right. Because the option that a lot of times that, to play one of the things I tell on social media when I'm doing the media side, and I get it. You have to be well spoken. I wear nice tailored suits.
You do.
My hair is
up. Slumming to this one.
I'm sorry about
that. Neon sign.
I don't necessarily like wearing the suits, but I do wear them. But I tell them, I said, don't let the smooth taste fool you. I played a very violent position very well for a reason. It ain't for cupcakes. Yeah. If you need me to be that person, then I have absolutely no problem being that person. And I run my own media entity. So the day I fire myself is the day they need the Baker Act. So you can't write a letter to Coleman Management Group and think I'm going to fire myself after I whoop your ass. So you need to ask yourself, is this or as I told one person, can you fight? I was making a joke about Brock Lesnar's daughter. She's hideous. Looks just like her dad. But the crazy part is I don't know what the mom looks like. In the face, she looks just like her dad, but her body is I ain't gonna lie, body's banging. She looks great. It's just, it's a lot. And I made my joke, and the dude was like, well, blah, blah, blah. I said, maybe Brock could beat me up. I don't know. I'm not looking for that. Yeah. But what you need to be asking yourself is, can you beat me up? Because the way you're talking right now is as if you want to defend Brock, and I'm sure it's not going to end the way you want it to end. And I think that's just kind of social media. A lot of this stuff made everybody too friendly, but you always got to give them that, let them know that it can go another way if you needed to go.
Yeah, and then I think that that's for sure. And I think people know that though. I think when you my mother's Swedish, she always says it's like pheromones. It almost probably not that many people mess with you, and not that many people, but it's something like a presence that.
Yeah, most people,
if you carry yourself the right way, it will happen, but not that many. And that's on my face, at least. I mean,
I think sometimes once you really when they see you, and that's the other thing too. Is I'm in the public spotlight, so a lot of people will say some things, and then the difference is when you go into a room, and then you got to see, you got the measurables are there, and you're like, oh, okay. Self-preservation starts to kick in, and now I just tell people let's just be nice in the beginning, so we don't have to wonder. Because again, I take a lot of things seriously. So it'd be somebody who says, "Oh man, I don't like this guy. I do this and blah blah blah." So cool, no problem. When I see you, I'm not forgetting. I'm remembering the conversation that we had. You don't like me, so I'm pulling up with the knowing that it could go this way. And then, a lot of times they're like, oh man, I'm sorry, I was just playing. And I'm like, well, don't play like that, because it could have ended a lot differently. But, again, and a lot of the stuff, so they'll see the nonprofit, and I said, I'm teaching kids to make the right decisions. I'm not teaching kids to be bitches. I'm teaching them to make the right decision or be punks. So we're going to do things the right way, but if there needs to be something changed, we're going to do things still the right way. We're just going to do it differently. So my joke when I'm doing this, I cuss, I drink, I smoke, we shoot guns over here, we do a lot of other stuff, but we also do a lot of good in the community. We do a lot of good in the community. So is it an oxymoron? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not trying to be nothing that I'm not. But at the same time, I do know that there are some people who need some guidance, and there's some people that sometimes I have a shirt that says sometimes some fans need their ass kicked. So there's a little bit in all of that. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's talk about you have a really big social media presence, and you said you have your own media company. So how did you get into that? And how have you've been really successful. You got a big following. Everyone in town knows you. How did that happen?
Man, no clue. I think, part of it is when I tell people is be really, really good at one thing. And then eventually you'll be surprised at how it spawns off.
Okay.
So I played ball, was more known in college than my NFL career. I just tell people I had a cup of coffee and beignets in New Orleans. But when I came back, I got into training, and that moved me to Jacksonville. And Jacksonville has a huge FSU presence. Yes. And I got involved with the clubs. I got involved training athletes with my gym, and I did that for 10 years. And
which gym?
It's two names. It was Godspeed Sports, Godspeed Elite Sports, and then it was Boost Sports Performance when I changed it the second time before I left. We put a ton of athletes in the college between football, lacrosse,
that's awesome.
Baseball. Put a lot of guys in the pros. I've seen kids that were my first clients that have gone on to do great things. I've seen guys that have gone on to be POSs.
Yeah.
But it was cool, and I got a chance to learn about sports, and it kept me involved in it. And then I got into media on a random with a guy named Denny Thompson. Okay. Denny is one of those guys that if you tell him he can't do something, it pisses him off. It motivates him to go do it.
Yeah.
So actually, I was the same age as Denny now. So this was it was 10 years ago. So Denny, they were like, no 40-year-olds have been able to start in sports radio. So Denny came to me, and we were talking, and we took a crap time on Saturday.
Yeah.
To a 5-day-a-week show at its peak with 1010XL. And, then from there, I parlayed that into working with First Coast News, covering the Jags on the beat. And our show went off on 1010 about four years ago, July. And, we just kept doing it on the YouTube, and it was successful, advertising, the way we talk about sports. And Denny's doing something else now. But the way we talk about sports is in a conversational tone with facts and trying to give outside the box thinking. A lot of people just think 1 + 1 is 2, and there's more context to it when it comes to sports. And being able to talk athlete. Yeah. So a lot of times when an athlete comes into a room and is doing a formal interview, it's very stuffy. But when we're talking to athletes, we're just like, hey man, relax. We may not even talk about ball. We may talk about life. We had a couple of Jags on. We were like, man, let's talk about girls. Let's talk about dating scene in Jacksonville. Like, you're not gonna, because I'll tell you, you're not gonna tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Because you're going to tell me that Blake Bortles is the best quarterback and that's your guy, and you don't believe that. You just that's your teammate. You don't want to get a soundbite. But if we talk about other stuff, you're willing to do that, and people like that, and they like the no holds bar and the no sugarcoating and just talking about things. And I felt like, not even to get political, during that times with 2016 when we were kind of starting to grow, 4 or 5 gets on, like Trump gets elected, and Trump is just spouting the first thing off of his mind, and I'm like, well, you know what? People can't tell me not to curse anymore. You can't tell me not to do this anymore because that's presidential. I'm acting presidential at this juncture. So saying that and letting people feel like, that's what you wanted to say. Like you want to, but you don't know how to say it. You don't have the balls to say it, and you don't have the credentials to say that Trevor Lawrence is known for throwing wide receivers into the infirmary or getting them hurt. Like, or that did, because you're like, everybody wants to like Trevor Lawrence and you want to be liked, but like me, I'll say it and then there'll be so people who like it, and then I'll it'll go viral and people will tell me, you can tell who never played football. You can tell who didn't do this, who doesn't watch the games. I'm like, I'm in the press box, brother. I'm like, I'm where you want to be at. So that's kind of just how I got into the media.
It's so funny. In 2018, when I had my epic meltdown on social media, I was posting all this crazy shit. That's what I was rationalizing too. I'm like, Trump does it. Yeah, right? I'm like, why can't I? Didn't have.
And that's what I was just telling people. Or even when I first started it, I was still training in the gym. Yeah. And one person, again, this is what I said. They didn't like what I said. Mm-hmm. So they went to my website for my company, and they emailed a complaint to info. And I'm like,
did they not realize
you're emailing
James Coleman
me?
Management?
Well, no, that's how it was. It was Elite Sports. They're like, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to get you fired from the company you own. Oh. And I read it on air, and I said, this is not how this works. Yeah. I said, I pay the bills around here. You can't fire me. I was like, so if you don't like it, don't watch it. I was like, but you want to tell, but again, I've said, I've made controversial or tongue-in-cheek jokes my entire life. When I was training, the joke was I make white kids fast. And they were like, oh, well, I said, I'll train anybody with green. But when a black kid runs a 4.4 and runs fast in the 40, nobody bats an eye. When I make this white kid run faster than this black kid, everybody is like, oh my God. I was like, it's there. I'm like, and I happen to, 75% of my clients were white for that reason. So like, I'm like, you can get mad at it. But when I look at my database, that's what my database shows me. Yeah. And I was like, it's not saying that we can't do it. I said, hell, I got an Indian client right now. Mm-hmm. And that mofo fast as hell. It was soccer player. But so we went from that and then just to get MFTK. Like there was people who were like, do you know what MFTK really means? And like, yeah. So what? Like, where y'all ass at? I said, you ain't in the hood giving out book bags and feeding kids. Like, come with your positive sayings or whatever else it is and meet me where I'm at. Yeah. I think, once the best thing about Trump, no political thing, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, the authenticity.
And he cares about what he cares about and getting things done. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're on the side of it or not. Mm-hmm. He cares about getting it done. And that resonates with people no matter who they are. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to never underestimate my ability to get shit done.
Yeah. Let me ask you, went to the Super Bowl, didn't you?
Every year. I've gone for 6 years.
That's what I thought. So how is that? Did that make you feel like you made it? Or do you feel like, are you a type of person that's more like you feel like you make it when you're able to give back and kids recognize you? Kind of both? A little bit of both?
A little bit of both. Like the other joke I told my mom, there's a movie, New Jack City. And Nino Brown was on the back of a truck giving out turkeys in the hood. Now, he's a notorious drug dealer in the movie. Terrible person. But he was giving back. And I said, everybody has to have their Nino Brown moment. Yeah. So I'm in the hood. I'm giving out bad. But I'm doing it not as a drug dealer. Yeah. So I love that. I hate the process right now of fundraising and going through it. Mm-hmm. But the minute I get that first bag, give it to a kid, I'm going to love it. Yeah. The Super Bowl is just a flex. Yeah. Like, the Super Bowl treats media like superstars. That's cool. I get so much free stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, this year I got 3 pairs of Jordans. I went to the Jordan party, saw who's there, and then just got 3 pairs of J's, whole bunch of Jordan gear.
How do they know your size? Or they have it?
They just have all the different sizes there. So if they're
I'm green, so I don't know.
Man, there's some that take advantage of it. Like, they get their whole family outfitted. I don't really, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go get what I need to get. A couple years ago, we had the Puma Suite, and I was able to do a little bit more at the Puma Suite. But you're going, it's really a party. Nobody goes to the Super Bowl for the game. Yeah. They go for the week of the events that lead up to it, and it's really a partying and networking extravaganza and seeing how much content you can get. But like, that's just fun. And the more you go, the more people you recognize you make connections, so even with 7on7 and media, I linked up with a group with Pylon, and I learned, I got a chance to meet those owners and on the Radio Row. And I'm like, all right, they're cool. My 7on7 organization will be a part of it. We will be doing media stuff with them in this next Pylon 7-on-7 season.
Okay, very cool.
So it's just a lot of things that you get to do when you just get into that. But if you would have asked me 10 years ago, would I be going to the Super Bowl? Yeah. I would have been like, nah, I just don't. There's no way I could do that. But Super Bowl,
I love that you go every year. That's so cool.
I went to the Final Four this year. Like I'm checking off boxes that I would have always.
You're like bucket list
stuff.
Yeah.
But I tell you what really makes me feel like I made it is when I'm able to take. Like, my youngest son isn't into it like that, but he's into whatever his brother's into.
Okay.
But Trey, my oldest son, is really into all of this stuff, and that's what makes me feel like I made it. Is that. My son, my son lives a middle-aged white man's sports wet dream. like everything he can go and meet coaches, and the coaches will be like, "Hey Trey," like people remember him, and like or NFL players or college players will know who he is and recognize him and do stuff like that. But that's really the cooler part. But nah, it's Super Bowl. I'll probably try to do the NBA final. I was hoping that. One of the that the Magic would have done a little bit better, and I would have tried to get something for that. Yeah, man. Just like I said, going and doing new things, and then letting people be able to see me experience them. That's actually really cool.
And why do you think that you've been able to get these opportunities? Because what are you doing differently than other people? Or do you just think it's who you are, and just you're charismatic and you attract it? Or do you think that you're doing something that opens these doors that it doesn't open for other people?
Taking care of the people who are in your circle, and always being ready to being comfortable being uncomfortable. How the Super Bowl thing started as women in sports don't necessarily get treated the same way. But I have a sister in Sheena Quick, who covers the Panthers, and she's been covering the Super Bowl. Okay. And she got me in through WHAP, and we do our thing. We have great. Another thing is being able. One of the key cheat code. Here's a cheat code to help you in relationships. One, be extremely transparent with all women. So when my boy's mom, I made sure that they knew my best friend is a female. Every woman I've ever been with knows my best friend is a female. If I wanted to have sex with her, we would cross that bridge when we were 12 or something like that. That ain't happening. She's married, all those things. So I say that it says I'm around a lot of beautiful women, and my natural instinct is not to just try to have sex.
Yeah.
I literally listen, try to figure out how I can help and be a guy. So that's what Sheena's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But everybody who I know drools over Sheena. And everybody I know is like, you don't want it? I said, well, yeah, she's beautiful. But I know how relationships end.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to Super Bowl every year. I'd rather get credentialed and do all this other stuff. And I was like, plus you can catch more fish with good bait than you can just doing whatever. So if I ever wanted, she was the one to put me down. So I think that's kind of one of those things. Then you meet her network, and then you meet, like, there's a one of her girls who I'm gonna try to be my publicist, Chantel Coleman. Chantel's gorgeous. Chantel's really, really, like, and watching her work the Super Bowl, it's crazy. It's nuts. Like, she's at this event, running this event, running that event. Cool. And, and then bringing others on. So my camera guy that goes with me everywhere is a guy named Steve. Steve is working NASCAR. One of the NASCAR events, I think it's Charlotte this weekend.
America.
That's where it was. But, like, he's covering Bubba Wallace.
Okay.
So he knows I like Bubba Wallace. I'm mad at him about that. But Steve gets an open door because I gave him the open door that I got through Sheena. Yeah. He opens doors for me. Other people. So what happens is putting people on and not really wanting anything in return makes people want to do that. And if I put somebody on that doesn't want to give me something in return, now I know how that person is. And I don't really necessarily want to do business with people like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the main thing.
I think you posted recently of something about, like, maybe it wasn't you, but about people at the top are collaborating.
Oh yeah. No, I love that.
Competition.
Collab over competition. Yeah. I say that to people all the time. Like, people at the bottom are trying to, like, people talk about crabs in a barrel, but without realizing that crab's natural habitat isn't a barrel. So of course they're gonna put, like, they're gonna pull and scrape, but, like, let's move the barrel.
Yeah.
Then you ain't got nothing to worry about. But I like the idea of people. If my friend puts me in a position it's not just my job to return the favor to that friend. It's my job to return the favor to everybody that I know that is qualified to be able to do something on that level. And if they're not qualified, let's see if you're interested in this, and let's get you the preparation to get you qualified to do these things. Again, I'm a big enough name or platform to be able to get us in the door with some things, but again, I'm the collective the collective practice or the collective effort of a lot of different people sacrificing things to be able to help me do stuff.
Yeah, have you heard of that book? It's like not the who but how.
Nah, but that's a good.
Yeah, and there was a John Brooks and his wife Brittany had gifted it to me, and they own Momentum Realty. But it's about, and the synopsis is basically like the team and that it takes multiple people, and they give the example in the beginning that basically Jordan wasn't Jordan until he had the right people, in place.
Best example of it is LeBron. LeBron came into the game, and he knew he was extremely talented, but he had some friends that he felt were just as talented, and Maverick and Paul, not Chris Paul. It'll come to me anyway. Rich Paul. He signed a contract, but you had to take them on as interns so that they could get developed. And then once they became who they were in the mix for all of LeBron's deals. So he brought everybody with him. He put them on. He helped them get developed. I mean, that's kind of the mindset that people got to have. But the real problem is most people are selfish, and they want to be, it's I shine, we shine. And that's not how I am. To be honest with you, my only thing in life is to want to be comfortable. Never wanted to be a billionaire. My son wants to be a billionaire. So my goal, again, my moral compass is to put my son in a position to be whatever he wants to be. I don't want to be a burden. Yeah. So, but putting other people in different positions, you never know where it could come. A relation, like I've seen things that have gotten me that other people thought weren't anything that I valued that ended up bringing me fruit 10, 20 years later. So. No, that's just the way I think about things.
And that's what I always say, like with Izzy, like I really, when she was on maternity leave, like, since I've had this business, I've had people come and go. She's the only person that I've had, besides my business partner, that I'm like, I need her to make this work. Like, and I'm always like telling Izzy, like, as long as I eat, you're going to eat. So, yeah. And I'm just like, hopefully we'll have a story like that, like 30, 40, 50. My dad, we had a farm, racehorses, like farm help that he hired over when he's 16, had baby. He's 72 now. The kid's now, 62, and they're still to this day, really close. So I think that's awesome that you remember all the people that helped you.
I mean, it's just trying, and you put, again, the more good you put out there, the more good comes back to you. And I think that's just what people have to kind of realize and pay attention to.
So to wrap up, two questions I ask everyone. First one is, I know we talked a couple. Is there a quote or something that you live by? Or that you like? If you don't have to live by it. A couple
of them. When in doubt, apply brute force and extreme ignorance. That's one thing. And then number two, the real joke is this: nothing beats a failure but a try.
That's good.
You're not going to be successful at everything. But if you look at it as you're moving different pieces to try to figure this thing out, eventually it's going to come to you. With the social media era, we see everybody's highlights. We don't ever really get a chance to see the things where people messed up. We don't see the struggles. We don't see all of those different things. But understand, that's where reading. That's why I love coming in the era right before all the social media comes up. Okay. So having to read a book on Muhammad Ali, having to read books on people who build. I'll be 41.
Okay, I'm 42. So we're similar age.
Like read it, seeing these guys go through struggles and then still be considered some of the giants or titans of industry. It's a thing where you understand that they're just as well as talent. You do need some breaks to fall your way, but just not giving up. Jay-Z said the genius thing we did was not give up.
That's good. I love that. And then, what is your 5-year goals, or where would you like to see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would like to see my nonprofit be one of the the cornerstones of youth development in Northeast Florida. Potentially having a facility where we have kids be able to come in and do different things. Having a national 7-on-7 organization that the best athletes in Northeast Florida and South Georgia come through and speak highly of and want to give back to. So where now it's a well-oiled machine with name, image, and likeness coming through. Where we don't have to go out anywhere else. Our guys got a big deal. Yeah. They decided that they wanted to give 10% or their whatever to us so we can find the next person. And on the media side, just continue to deliver dope content that people just say is the focal point. And with that, it requires relationships, obviously requires funding and people to watch. So that's the big thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for always being a big supporter of us. And we love you, James.